Hey everybody, welcome back to the Consumer Warrior Podcast. The podcast is dedicated to helping you with your big debt problems. If you're just dabbling in debt, this isn't the podcast for you. We deal with the big debt problems like repossession, debt collection lawsuits, foreclosure, bankruptcy, and all the other horrible financial problems out there. We're here to help you to help yourself. Welcome back to the show. My name is John Skiba, and I am a consumer protection attorney in the state of Arizona. And I'm also a Ramsey Solutions Master Financial Coach, where I help people put plans together to get out of debt, build wealth, and be generous with their money. In today's episode, I want to talk about a question I get relatively often. Particularly, I've been getting this question more since I've been certified through Dave Ramsey's organization. About the morality or immorality of filing for bankruptcy. As everybody knows, Dave Ramsey is he's not a proponent of bankruptcy. He's on the flip side. He's a proponent of people not filing for bankruptcy and instead working out a plan through a debt snowball to get their debts caught up, paid off, and stay out of debt completely. So I'm in this kind of weird situation that I am a bankruptcy attorney. This is what I've done for the last approximately 15 years, is help people and families go through the bankruptcy process. So I thought I would give you my 2 cents for what it's worth on what I think as far as the morality of bankruptcy. Now, bankruptcy, what I have found over the years in helping thousands of families is that it impacts almost every segment of society. Some people think that this is something that just the very poor go through. Typically, it's actually almost kind of the opposite. Bankruptcy tends to be something that mostly middle income, the middle class, upper middle class, and even the wealthy go through. Often because, one, they have the ability to incur a lot of debts because they have incomes that credit card companies will look at and be willing to give them high limit credit cards. Or they do things like go into maybe kind of more riskier ventures, entrepreneurship, starting businesses, that kind of thing. So it impacts a lot of people, and it's also the reasons that people file for bankruptcy are varied and kind of all over the place as well. We see a lot of people who file bankruptcy for medical reasons. They have some kind of medical expense, and even people with insurance. A lot of insurance policies these days have really high deductibles, or if there's really a catastrophic type illness, they may exceed the limits of their coverage. And so there's just all these types of expenses that can go into it, including, businesses. We see a lot when anybody opens up a business, you're making a calculated risk that you are going to be able to overcome the odds and really grow this business and turn it into something profitable. Well, when things don't go that way, a lot of times people find themselves really, burdened with a lot of debt, a lot of personal guarantees, long-term leases, those types of things, which they need assistance in dealing with the debt problems that they have there. So there's all of these issues that can lead to someone for filing for bankruptcy. So to my question, as far as is it moral or immoral to file bankruptcy, here's my take on it. My take is it depends on your intention when you took the debt out. When you took the debt out, if you had a sincere intention to repay that debt, that it wasn't taken out for a frivolous purpose, or it wasn't taken out with the intent that you were just going to skate on that debt, but your intention was that you were going to pay that debt back, and then there was some event that it intervened, whether it's an illness, whether it's the business failure, whatever it is that resulted in you having to file for bankruptcy. To me, that is completely different than someone who takes a debt out with the intention or with no intention of repaying the debt. Or worse yet, they're taking the debt out with the intention of filing for bankruptcy down the road. And I can tell you the number of people that fall into that latter category, at least in my experience as an attorney who's been doing this for quite a while, is very small, minuscule. I would say that the number of people that I have met with, and I have literally met with tens of thousands of families over the years and consulted with them, I can count it on one hand, single digits, as far as people who are really trying to game the system. I just don't see that. Most people that are filing for bankruptcy feel horrible that they're in that position. They feel horrible about the idea of having to go through that and having to deal with the consequences of a bankruptcy filing, but they're grateful that the law is there. And that's something I say all the time. Imagine a world without bankruptcy, without that possibility to start over. how many people would be willing to start their own business? Would be willing to take on all that risk when it comes to starting a business if there wasn't at least the ability to get out of the debt in the event that things go bad? Or what about the people that have the really terrible illnesses and the medical bills are piling up, and they can be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars or more, and there was no relief from that? That's in essence, bankruptcy is merciful to people, those statutes that are there. And I don't see the abuse that sometimes stereotypically people expect that there is in bankruptcy filings. I don't see it. Also, I can tell you that the way that the bankruptcy code is written, and the Department of Justice through the U.S. Trustee's Office, who oversees that, they really try to stamp those things out when there is abuse. When people are taking advantage of the system and not following the rules, they are pretty heavy-handed when they come down on these people. That's why you see all these reality stars that end up in prison because they're not, for bankruptcy fraud. They get into all this debt, and then they think the rules don't apply to them and kind of do their own thing, and they end up literally going to prison because they're not doing what they should be doing. So that's my take on it. It all depends on the intent that you had when you took out the debt, and sincere intent. What it is that you were intending to do, and then if something happened in your life that made repayment not possible, that's why bankruptcy's there. And so I think, and you probably aren't surprised by that, but I don't think that it's per se an immoral practice to file for bankruptcy. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing this every day for work if I did. But I think that the approach that the individual who's going through bankruptcy, as far as their actual intent, that's what makes a difference as far as whether it's moral or immoral. So that's my take on it. That's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. If you want to learn more about me, my law practice, or even my financial coaching practice, or even some of the templates, online tutorials, forums, all that we have, head on over to consumerwarrior.com. You can also go to legal.coach. Those are my two websites where I have all that information there. That's going to do it for this episode, and I'll catch you next time.